34. King Jiawang of Yang seeks talented advisors. After Lord Mengchang was dismissed from his position as Chancellor of Qi, King Minute of Qi, in alliance with Chu and Wei, conquered the state of Song. This victory made him even more arrogant. His ambition was to annex the various states and declare himself emperor. This aggressive expansion displeased the other feudal lords, especially Yang, the northern neighbor of Qi, which had long suffered under Qi's oppression and was eager for revenge. Yang had once been a powerful state, but under King Kuai, it declined due to poor governance. Listening to bad advice, King Kuai attempted to imitate the legendary sage kings Yao and Shun by voluntarily ceding his throne to his chancellor, Ziji. This led to chaos, as the Yang general and the rightful heir, Crown Prince Ping, rebelled against Ziji. The resulting civil war threw Yang into turmoil. Seizing the opportunity, Qi intervened under the pretext of restoring order, nearly destroying Yang in the process. However, the people of Yang united under Crown Prince Ping, expelled the Qi forces, and restored their sovereignty. When Crown Prince Ping ascended the throne as King Jiawang of Yang, he resolved to restore Yang's strength. He was determined to find capable advisors but struggled to identify the right individuals. Someone suggested that he consult the elderly minister Guo Wei, who was known for his wisdom. King Jiawang personally visited Guo Wei and said, "Qi took advantage of our internal strife to invade us. I will never forget this humiliation. However, Yang is still too weak to take revenge. If a great talent were willing to help me restore my country and avenge this wrong, I would serve him as his subordinate. Can you recommend such a person?" Guo Wei stroked his beard, thought for a moment, and replied, "I cannot name a suitable candidate immediately, but allow me to tell you a story first." He then recounted the following tale. Long ago, a certain king loved 1,000 li horses, legendary steeds that could travel 1,000 li in a single day. He sent his men across the land to search for one, but after 3 years, they found nothing. One day, a courtier informed the king that a renowned 1,000 li horse had been discovered in a distant land. However, by the time he arrived, the horse had already died. Rather than returning empty-handed, the courtier spent half of the funds he had been given to purchase the horse's bones and brought them back to the king. The king was furious. "I ordered you to buy a living horse, not to waste money on a useless skeleton." The courtier calmly responded, "If people hear that you are willing to pay a high price even for a dead 1,000 li horse, they will believe you truly cherish these steeds. Soon, those who own living 1,000 li horses will eagerly bring them to you." As expected, within a year, several people came forward, offering the king living 1,000 li horses. Guo Wei concluded, "If your majesty truly seeks talented individuals, why not start with me? Think of me as the horse's bones. By treating me with honor, you will signal to the world that you genuinely value talent. Before long, the finest minds will flock to Yang." King Jiawang was deeply inspired. Upon returning to his palace, he immediately ordered the construction of an elegant residence for Guo Wei and appointed him as his teacher. Word quickly spread that the king of Yang was sincerely recruiting talented individuals, and soon, skilled people from all over sought his audience. Among them was a brilliant strategist from Zhao named Yu Yi. King Jiawang appointed Yu Yi as his Ya Qing, a high-ranking minister, and entrusted him with reforming the government and military. Under Yu Yi's guidance, Yang steadily grew stronger. The attack on Qi. Observing King Minute of Qi's arrogance and unpopularity, King Jiawang told Yu Yi, "The king of Qi is reckless and despotic. This is our chance to take revenge. I intend to mobilize all of Yang's forces to attack Qi. What do you think?" Yu Yi advised caution. "Qi is vast and populous. We cannot defeat it alone. If your majesty wishes to launch a campaign, you must first form an alliance." Following this advice, King Jiawang sent Yu Yi to Zhao to negotiate an alliance with King Hui Wen. He also dispatched envoys to establish military cooperation with Han and Wei, while Zhao helped facilitate an agreement with Qin. Dissatisfied with Qi's domineering behavior, these states all agreed to join the war effort. In 284 BCE, King Jiawang appointed Yu Yi as Shongjiangjun, Supreme General, and placed him in command of a coalition army drawn from 5 states, Yang, Zhao, Qin, Han, and Wei. Together, they launched a massive invasion of Qi. Upon hearing that a 5-state coalition was approaching, King Minute of Qi panicked. He quickly mustered his entire army to resist the invaders and met them in battle west of the Ji River. However, Yu Yi was a masterful strategist, and the coalition forces fought with great morale. The Qi army was utterly defeated, and King Minute fled back to Linzi, the capital of Qi. After their initial victory, the armies of Zhao, Han, Qin, and Wei were satisfied with capturing a few cities and withdrew from the campaign. However, Yu Yi was relentless. Leading the Yang forces, he pressed forward and conquered Linzi. King Minute of Qi was forced to flee further, eventually seeking refuge in Zhu City, where he was later killed. The reward for Yu Yi. Recognizing Yu Yi's extraordinary contributions, King Jiawang personally traveled to the banks of the Ji River to inspect the troops and distribute rewards. In recognition of his military success, Yu Yi was granted the noble title of Duke of Changhua. Through wisdom, patience, and careful strategy, King Jiawang of Yang transformed his kingdom from a weakened state on the brink of collapse into a formidable power capable of avenging past wrongs. 35. Qian Dan's Fire Ox Formation. General Yu Yi had led the Yang army for 6 months, conquering more than 70 cities in Qi. By the end, only 2 cities remained: Zhu, modern-day Zhu County, Shandong, and Jimor, modern-day Pingdu County, Shandong. In Zhu, the Qi officials installed the son of the former king as the new ruler, King Xiong of Qi. Meanwhile, Yu Yi laid siege to Jimor, where the city's defending official was mortally wounded in battle. With no commander left, chaos nearly broke out in Jimor. At that moment, a distant relative of the Qi royal family named Qian Dan, who had prior military experience, was residing in the city. The people unanimously chose him to take command and defend the city. Qian Dan shared the hardships of war with his soldiers, even enlisting his own clan members and family into the defense forces. His leadership inspired confidence, and the morale in Jimor soared. Yu Yi's dismissal. For 3 years, Yu Yi besieged Zhu and Jimor but failed to capture them. His prolonged campaign drew suspicion and jealousy from within Yang. Some courtiers whispered to King Jiawang of Yang, "General Yu conquered over 70 cities in just 6 months. Why has he been unable to take these last 2 for 3 whole years? It's not that he lacks the ability, he simply wants to win the hearts of the Qi people and become the king of Qi himself." King Jiawang, however, trusted Yu Yi deeply and replied, "His contributions are immense. Even if he did become the king of Qi, he would still deserve it. How dare you slander him?" To prove his trust, King Jiawang even sent an envoy to formally grant Yu Yi the title of king of Qi. Yu Yi was deeply moved by this gesture but firmly declined the offer. Ironically, this act of integrity only further cemented his reputation. 2 years later, King Jiawang of Yang passed away, and his son, King Hui of Yang, ascended the throne. Recognizing this as an opportunity, Qian Dan secretly sent agents to spread rumors in Yang. The false reports claimed that Yu Yi had long since considered himself the ruler of Qi but had refrained from declaring it out of respect for the late king. Now that a new king had taken the throne, Yu Yi would soon formally proclaim himself king of Qi. Furthermore, if Yang replaced him with another general, the remaining Qi cities would quickly fall. King Hui of Yang, who already harbored resentment toward Yu Yi, readily believed the rumors and replaced him with the general Qi Jie. Yu Yi, originally from Zhao, chose to return to his homeland rather than serve under the new king. When Qi Jie took command of the Yang army, the troops were unhappy and resented their new leader. However, none dared to voice their discontent openly. Qian Dan's psychological warfare. Qi Jie continued the siege of Jimor, surrounding the city with multiple layers of fortifications. However, inside the city, Qian Dan had already devised a plan for a decisive counterattack. A few days later, Yang soldiers overheard civilians whispering to each other. General Yu was far too kind. He treated prisoners humanely, so the people of Jimor had nothing to fear. But now, if the Yang soldiers start mutilating prisoners by cutting off their noses, will the Qi soldiers still dare to fight? My ancestors' graves are outside the city. If the Yang army starts digging up graves, what are we going to do? These rumors reached Qi Jie, who took them seriously. He ordered his men to mutilate captured Qi soldiers by cutting off their noses and instructed his troops to desecrate the graves outside the city. When the people of Jimor saw the Yang soldiers defiling their ancestors' graves, their fury knew no bounds. Their hatred for Yang intensified, and they urged Qian Dan to lead them in an all-out battle against the invaders. The Fire Ox Charge. Qian Dan also sent spies posing as wealthy merchants inside Jimor. These spies secretly presented Qi Jie with gold and silver, claiming, "The city's food supplies are nearly exhausted. In just a few days, Jimor will surrender. When the great Yang army enters the city, we beg the general to protect our families." Qi Jie, delighted by the news, accepted the bribes and promised their safety. He then relaxed his siege preparations, assuming victory was imminent. Qian Dan took advantage of this complacency. He selected over 1,000 oxen and outfitted them in a bizarre fashion. Each ox was covered with a thick quilt painted in bright, eerie colors. Sharp blades were tied to their horns, and bundles of reeds soaked in oil were attached to their tails. At midnight, Qian Dan ordered multiple sections of the city walls to be breached. He then released the oxen outside and set fire to the reeds on their tails. Panicked by the flames, the oxen stampeded wildly, charging directly into the Yang encampment. At the same time, Qian Dan led a force of 5,000 elite warriors armed with broadswords and spears, closely following the rampaging oxen into the enemy ranks. Inside the city, thousands of civilians rushed to the walls, banging copper pots and drums, adding to the deafening chaos. Awakened from their sleep, the Yang soldiers stumbled out of their tents in confusion. Blinded by the sudden firelight, they were horrified to see what appeared to be monstrous, fire-breathing creatures with blades protruding from their heads charging at them. Panic spread like wildfire. Many soldiers were paralyzed with fear, their legs trembling as they lost the will to fight. The carnage was immense. The oxen trampled and gored countless Yang soldiers, while Qian Dan's elite troops mercilessly cut down anyone in their path. Even those who tried to flee were crushed in the stampede. Qi Jie, attempting to escape in his war chariot, was quickly surrounded and killed by Qi soldiers. The restoration of Qi. Seizing the moment, Qian Dan launched a full-scale counteroffensive. News of the victory spread rapidly throughout Qi, inspiring rebellion against Yang's occupation forces. In every captured Qi city, the people rose up, slaughtered the Yang governors, and pledged their loyalty to Qian Dan. Wherever Qian Dan's army advanced, the local population welcomed them as liberators. Within a few months, Qi had retaken all 70-plus cities that had been occupied by Yang, Qin, Zhao, Han, and Wei. Finally, Qian Dan escorted King Xiong of Qi from Zhu back to the capital, Linzi, restoring the kingdom from the brink of destruction. 36. Chu Yuan's tragic end in the river. After being defeated by Qin, the state of Chu continued to suffer under its oppression. King Huai of Chu sought to re-establish an alliance with Qi. When King Zhaoxiang of Qin ascended the throne, he extended a seemingly polite invitation to King Huai, requesting a meeting at Wuguan, in present-day Danfeng County, Shaanxi, to form an alliance in person. Upon receiving the letter, King Huai was hesitant. If he refused, he feared offending Qin, but if he went, he worried about the risks. He consulted his ministers. The court official Chu Yuan advised, "Qin is as ruthless as a wolf. It has repeatedly oppressed us. If your majesty goes, you will surely fall into their trap." However, King Huai's son, Prince Alan, strongly urged him to accept the invitation. "We have lost countless lives and land because of our hostility towards Qin. Now that Qin is offering peace, how can we refuse?" King Huai, convinced by Prince Alan, decided to travel to Qin. As Chu Yuan had feared, the moment King Huai stepped into Wuguan, Qin's forces, already in position, blocked his retreat. During their meeting, King Zhaoxiang demanded that Chu cede the territory of Qianzhong. King Huai refused, and in response, the Qin king ordered him detained in Xianyang, holding him hostage until Chu surrendered the land. When the ministers of Chu heard that their king had been captured, they refused to cede their land. Instead, they installed the crown prince as the new ruler, King Qingxiang of Chu. Prince Alan, the one who had encouraged King Huai to go to Qin, became the prime minister. King Huai remained imprisoned in Qin for over a year, suffering greatly. He attempted to escape but was recaptured and, overwhelmed by illness and despair, soon died in captivity. The people of Chu were outraged by the humiliation and mistreatment of their king. Among them, Chu Yuan was particularly heartbroken. Chu Yuan's exile. Chu Yuan urged King Qingxiang to seek out wise advisors, remove corrupt officials, strengthen the military, and prepare to avenge Chu's humiliation. However, instead of heeding his advice, the Prime Minister, Prince Alan, and another official, Jin Shong, turned against him. They repeatedly slandered Chu Yuan before the king, saying, "Your Majesty, have you heard how Chu Yuan speaks about you? He tells others that a king who forgets Qin's crimes is unfilial, and that ministers who oppose war with Qin are disloyal. He says that with such a ruler and ministers, Chu is bound to perish. What kind of talk is that?" King Qingxiang, furious, dismissed Chu Yuan from his position and exiled him to the southern region of Xiangnan. Having devoted himself to strengthening his country and serving his people, Chu Yuan was devastated by the corruption that had driven him away. Wandering through the lands of Xiangnan, he composed sorrowful poems as he walked along the banks of the Miluo River, in present-day northeastern Hunan. The local farmers sympathized with him, knowing he was a patriotic minister. However, an old fisherman who often fished in the Miluo River disagreed with Chu Yuan's sorrowful demeanor. One day, as Chu Yuan walked along the riverbank, he encountered the fisherman, who asked, "Aren't you a high-ranking minister of Chu? How did you end up like this?" Chu Yuan sighed, "Most people are corrupt, but I have remained pure. The world is drunk, but I alone am sober. That is why I have been exiled." The fisherman shook his head and replied, "If you believe others are dirty, why cling to your purity? If everyone is drunk, why not join them in their intoxication?" Chu Yuan firmly disagreed. "I have heard that those who have just washed their hair will dust off their hats, and those who have just bathed will shake off the dirt from their robes. I would rather throw myself into the river and be devoured by fish than stain my purity by mingling with corruption." The death of Chu Yuan. Refusing to compromise his integrity, Chu Yuan ultimately chose to end his life. On the 5th day of the 5th lunar month in 278 BCE, he embraced a large stone and leaped into the Miluo River. When the local villagers learned of his death, they rowed out in their boats, desperately trying to save him. However, the vast river swallowed him, and despite hours of searching, they could not recover his body. The fisherman who had spoken to Chu Yuan was deeply saddened. In his honor, he scattered rice from a bamboo tube into the river as an offering. The following year, on the anniversary of Chu Yuan's death, the local people continued the practice of rowing boats and casting rice into the river to commemorate him. Over time, they improved the offerings, wrapping the rice in bamboo leaves to form zongzi, and the tradition of dragon boat racing emerged. Thus, the custom of the Dragon Boat Festival, Duanwu Jie, observed on the 5th day of the 5th lunar month, is said to have originated from the people's efforts to honor Chu Yuan's legacy. Chu Yuan's legacy. Even in death, Chu Yuan left behind an enduring literary and patriotic legacy. His poetry, particularly Li Suro, The Lament, remains among the most celebrated works in Chinese literature. Through his verses, he condemned the corrupt officials who betrayed their country and expressed his deep sorrow for his homeland. Every tree and blade of grass in Chu was infused with his boundless love. Later generations honored Chu Yuan as one of China's greatest patriotic poets, remembering him for his unwavering loyalty and tragic fate.